What is going on, y'all? I'm just making some final decisions to what I'm going to do with my bigger lineups, and yeah, I'm going to go through basically the baseball slate. We'll talk a little bit about basketball if you guys want to. We'll start off with baseball. Probably come back to baseball. Sheets will probably only want to talk baseball. He'll be here soon, but I've got the NBA pulled up as well. I again am not playing because I have respect for money a little bit. I don't know why. No, I'm not playing in all realness. Um, but it's a fun little MLB slate, and I am leaning towards saying F it, going right back to San Diego, Toronto, and Atlanta as my main stacks. I don't think I'm being totally profound with any of this, but you've got some interesting options. Like I really love Trent Grisham. I expect a huge year out of him. He would be my preferred outfield option for them. I like Luke Voigt. Profar is your value option at 2,600. And then you can sort of decide to fit in what the fourth piece might be if you want to, or a fifth. But I don't think you need to worry about fully stacking entirely tonight. I do like Toronto, but it feels weird to all of a sudden just pick on Sonny Gray. He's been a much better pitcher than he gets credit for, and it makes me a little nervous to just go ahead and say, okay, well, we're going to play Sonny Gray, obviously. As far as pitching goes, I think Morton and Scherzer are clearly my top two. I don't mind any other arguments for any of the other guys, to be honest with you, but I don't see why I need to stay away from those guys. Well, Gray's, I don't know. I keep saying Sonny Gray. I meant John Gray. Excuse me. It's just going to happen early in the year in MLB, especially when I've been sick and only like studying, but my brain isn't fully functional. So give me a break on those ones. Sheets here. What's up, Sheets?
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going, man? So I was just going, who are you, before we get into, I'm sure we'll talk some golf. I'm sure we'll probably get some basketball questions, but who are your main starting pitchers tonight?
Right. So there's a couple of ways I'm going. I'm going probably half my DraftKings builds are going to be pretty standard, and half of them are going to be kind of not standard.
Mm-hmm.
As far as pitching goes, I'm playing a lot of Charlie Morton.
Yep.
I'm playing a lot of John Gray.
Wow, going super contrarian on this one.
Yeah, and then if you didn't like attacking Toronto, if that's not good enough for you, I have about 35% Rene San Martin against Atlanta. So we are attacking the baseball season with with some flair to start off the season.
Yeah, so I want to touch on what you said earlier, which is what I mean. So really, the truth is we can spend that for pitching because the pricing is soft enough, so we can always do it. But you have to sort of wonder, like outside, I mean, these guys don't have any. They are not extending anybody basically.
Nope.
Basically, throughout the league, nobody's getting extended.
Nope.
So the two safest guys, though, who would actually get extension, though, if under any normal, Charlie Morton's going to throw 90 pitches probably tonight. So I like Charlie Morton. I like the matchup. It's fine. You know what I mean? Max Scherzer is the great upside play with probably very little. I mean, I don't see a huge downside. I mean, in general, he has one or two bad outings a year. I think that's the way to go, but I don't think you're necessarily getting the normal upside on opening day that you would with a Scherzer, especially in Washington. Although if there was one guy you could see throwing 110 pitches in 2022 in an opening day, it would be Scherzer. So that's what I'm doing personally. It's going to be Scherzer and Morton heavy. I don't mind if you sprinkle in the Grays, the Odorizzi's, Manayas, Barrios. I just personally would rather go the other way. What stacks are you leaning towards?
Yeah, so with a lot of my stacks, I'm using the Padres. And what's that?
I was rooting for a Tigers putt to get there. Sorry, he was going for the third birdies in a row. Go ahead.
Let me see. That's not good. That's not right. 1 inch off. Yeah, so I like the Padres, and then I like the Rangers, and then those are I guess the highest owned, I suppose, the Padres and the Rangers for me, and I think I might have a couple of Washingtons just for fun. but not much. Those are the main ones, just Padres. Oh, and the other one is the Reds.
Interesting. Okay. I like the Padres. I think we go right back to it after last night. You know that I'm never afraid of picking on a little Merrill Kelly. This team sees them every year, so I'm happy to take the Padres as my number one. I do like the Blue Jays, but it worries me a little bit. Like, talk about a guy, and I don't care what stadium you're pitching in. This guy pitches in Coors Field all the time, and finally we got him out of Coors Field pitching for Texas.
Yep.
I don't know if we should just assume he's going to get lit up because his numbers shouldn't translate for the most part. You know what I mean? And he's not one of those pitchers who like got babied and they wouldn't pitch him every home game. He pitched every one of his starts. You know what I mean? He pitched in tough matchups. He had a lot of good outings, and when there was another team with a total run line of 7+, and he doesn't have to face a tough NL West in terms of the offenses. Now Toronto's an awesome offense, but like, I don't know. It just feels like a little bit going with that as chalk didn't quite feel right to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm leaning a little bit more Atlanta, San Diego, Toronto. San Diego, Atlanta, Toronto, or Atlanta and Toronto sort of being in between, switching off of both of them, but maybe using some pieces. It's really interesting because like some of the positions, some of the guys I really like tonight are not going to be used outside of stacks very much, like Matt Chapman, who's batting 7th. But at 4,300, it's expensive. But I really like Matt Chapman. I think he's going to have a big year for Toronto. I really like Moustakas. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. I'm sort of surprised they're batting him 7th at the beginning of the year. But he's another one at 2,900 that I want to like get pieces of, but I don't really want the full stacks tonight. So I'm looking at more 3 or 4 man stacks, mostly headlined by San Diego, Atlanta, and Toronto. That's where I'm at. And favorite one-off play of the day is the best play at shortstop, and we're going to play him basically every day outside of Texas, in my opinion. And it's Corey Seager. Everything's an upgrade for him from what he's faced. He should have an absolutely massive season. So those are just some sort of general thoughts I had, but love to get into some discussion with the people in chat. And if there's any questions, guys, drop it in. We're always happy to hear it. It seems like everybody's on the baseball train, not on the NBA train.
Yeah, I will say, guys, really, if I mean, Bobby, you're probably playing a few lineups and like playing big or whatever, so I won't talk you into this, but guys out there, if you want to play something contrarian, if you want to play like something in a small buy and whatever, I'm telling you, the San Martin guy's the freaking nuts. I like him a lot. It's not so easy to go against Atlanta or whatever, but on a 5-game slate or whatever it is, I really think he's got upside in general. I mean, I saw him pitch twice last year. He really brings it, and he's being like tried out for like a final rotation spot or something like that.
Yeah.
And look, nobody said it'd be easy. if it was an easy matchup, he'd be owned.
It's one of those situations where it's the final rotation spot he's battling for, but he might be the ace of the staff by halfway through the season.
Something like that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So if you're playing 20 lineups, just do me a favor, just throw one in with San Martin.
I agree with that totally, 100%. So let's talk through some positions because we don't often do that, but I think on a small slate like this, it actually is really valuable. We usually do it for our early looks, not for our live stuff. But I thought it'd be interesting to talk through some positions. So who do you seem to have like at catcher? Like the spots I'm running into the most where I don't know exactly what I want to do are catcher, second base, and third base. So what are you doing at catcher today?
Well,
I'm sure it'll be some other stacks.
Usually at catcher, I end up not usually. I tend to get part of my stacks in, but I guess the best catcher is going to come from the Toronto. It's going to be Kirk, right?
So I like Kirk. I think it's the best price point option. I think you could make an argument. I mean, it was pointed out very, very well by a Bucks fan in our chat earlier that Mitch Garver catching for Texas now, used to catch for Berrios his whole time coming up. So maybe you can give a little edge to that catcher pitcher matchup. We see it happen plenty of times, and it's always fun to have a little extra incentive in a logical narrative. A guy who's seen you pitch more than you've ever pitched is probably a better guy to hit off of you than a guy who hasn't seen you pitch. It's pretty basic, but I don't know. I like the idea of maybe using a little bit of Garver. I think Danny Jansen's an interesting pivot in your Toronto stacks off of Kirk. I think Alfaro in anything but a 5-man San Diego stack. That's the only place you'll run into him, but he's going to be low enough owned. Tyler Stevenson if you're not pitching Morton. But I guess it's not that exciting of a position. Those are basically the options, right? Like I guess you could say Carson Kelly if you want to, but
Yeah, I like the last guy you mentioned. I like Tyler Stevenson.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Again, I don't think we're quite small enough of a slate to where I want to use hitters against my pitcher, but I don't think it's like the worst thing if you have like a cheap guy against your pitcher in one place. But I don't think I'm going to do that. Cheech, you would agree with that, right? Even on a 5-gamer, you probably don't.
Yeah, I don't think it's small enough to intentionally use your hitters against your pitchers.
The only reason it might be more viable in the past is sort of what we were saying earlier about how no matter what the starting pitchers, they're not. Nobody's out there throwing 100 pitches so far. I don't think has anybody thrown pitches yet. I don't know if it's going to happen.
No, and Giolito, they said he was hurt when they took him out. Bieber had the announced pitch count. Cole was getting his act together a little bit, but they didn't even throw him back out for the 5th. So yeah, I mean they're being smart, I think.
Yeah. 100%.
So what this is going to require? I mean, you have to have a really good eye for what bullpens are bad in early MLB DFS.
It's really not something that we should be. I don't think we should be trying to target it. I always say this: the first month of the season, I don't think you try to target anything, but it's been a bad bullpen in the past because it's really, really hard to figure out. Because basically every year, what happens is the guys who have the best bullpens are usually like 5 of their top 7 relievers are guys who were terrible the years before. So, or a terrible starter turns into a good, you know what I mean? So it's really hard to try to project whose bullpen is good and bad, except for using who's been bad in the past and what teams are bad. You know what I mean? It's really hard to try and decipher this. I mean, we see it every year with bullpen arms because guys change one thing and all of a sudden they're incredible for 1 inning at a time rather than a really lousy mid reliever for 3 innings. So their numbers are not going to make sense. And we also, just like the teams, I think they're trying to figure out their rotations early in the year too. And everybody's sort of slow playing early in the season. So
Toronto is not still playing in that Little League park, right?
No. They're back in Toronto.
Okay.
But it's a good hitter's park. I mean,
because what I was going to say, I mean, is that your man? There's so many guys at your man, you don't even know probably who I'm referring to. But your man, how many home runs are we going to peg for Adelis Garcia this year? The problem is he's at Texas most of the time, but whenever he's not in Texas, he hit 31 home runs and like 40 at bats last year. Remember, he got off the sickest start.
Yeah, not to mention Corey Seager outside of Dodger Stadium, basically outside of the NL West, is going. I mean, obviously you get Colorado for some games, but this guy is going to have just an insane. Well, unfortunately, he has to play his home games in Texas, but I actually really wish he would have gone to the Yankees just so it would have been like, oh, I'll show you guys. I'm actually a 50 home run hitter. You know what I mean? Because on the Yankees, I genuinely believe that's what Seager is. This guy hits more hard contact for doubles than anybody in baseball, basically per at bat throughout his career. More warning track fly balls.
I have a question. This is like a baseball question. So I noticed that whenever I would watch the Dodgers in the last 3 years, they always just seem to be, I don't want to say swinging for the fences in the wrong way, but they always seem to have that kind of like modern, analytics type swing where they're really trying to get the ball up in the air, and all of them, like all the lefties are just, they all look the same, and that's why they're just so freaking awesome, like all of them. Mm-hmm. My question is that an organizational thing, or is that just a thing? In other words, are they going to like mess with Seager, like not being in LA? Are they going to say, listen, we don't need you to be swinging like that over here? Or is that just like a player by player thing? And they just kind of know how to do that.
Like, I think if you go through the years and look at the players, I mean, when Max Muncy came to the Dodgers, he never hit more than 3 home runs in the season. Now he's an MVP.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no. So I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that is a little bit of a worrisome thing. Right. Seager is such a unique, incredible talent, and is legitimately like a top 15 player when he plays, but he's had injury problems, so he doesn't get regarded that way. So I'm not really, I don't know if it matters necessarily as much for him. Okay. I would worry a little bit about Bellinger if he was gone, if he was out of LA now. But I don't know. I think he's got enough of his thing down. But yeah, it's something to think about, But they definitely have great hitting coaches with great, I mean, Chris Taylor was an all-star last year after being at best like the 26th man on a roster before. You know what I mean? They make guys into something, and they're you'll see it this year with Gavin Lux, who probably is going to hit 300 and be an all-star.
Oh, Gavin Lux, did he stick with the Dodgers?
Yeah, he can really hit. He's got a little bit of some mental stuff going on sometimes.
Okay.
But he can really hit. So anyway, so it is something to think about, going away from these teams. But I don't think it's anything we can necessarily speculate right now, other than that we know Corey Seager is great. If this game was the Dodgers playing in Toronto, and you're facing Barrios who can give up the lefty power, I think we would it doesn't really matter. It's a park upgrade no matter what for him early in the year. I'm going to play Seager. He's the best player at shortstop, in my opinion, by a pretty decent ways. If you want to, I mean, it's not natural to jump that position next, but what shortstops are you playing if you're not playing Seager?
Well, before we I have a couple, but before we get into that, I want to revisit something that we kind of we were on. I brought this to your attention early last season, and we both kind of got on it like earlier than most people. Is when people just really just start like changing their swing for the better. You know what I mean? And there was early in the season last year where they did an interview with Joey Votto. And he's like, well, I don't know. It seems to be that's what you're supposed to do. So I'm just going to be going for it this year, whatever. And I remember when I mentioned that to you, like, well, that's good enough for me. And he ended up just probably the most improved power numbers, like of anybody, you know what I mean, of last year from year over year.
Yeah.
So just kind of watch for that. I don't know how exactly you watch for that, but like if some guy, here's a good way to put it. If some guy who you're not used to seeing like getting power all of a sudden just gets like outlier power, I would not consider it an aberration. I would believe it. That's my take.
I like it. I think that's the right way to treat that type of situation. Even if you're wrong, you're still doing what I think all you can do that's right. Because I've done some digging about guys who were talking about, but you never really know until the season. Because even the Votto stuff was the one, like one of the rare guys who was talked about. But this guy was, 2 years removed from being an all-star for like 12 years in a row. It wasn't like he was
right.
Nothing. But I think that is something we should look out for. And I think it's something you do want to jump on a little bit. And people will say, oh, the recency bias. I mean, I remember Cardi was like this all the time. He literally would come on every day and say, if you play Fernando Tatis, you don't know how to play DFS. You don't know how to play baseball. You don't know anything about baseball. This guy will never be anything but a platoon player. Like really crazy takes. I say the exact opposite. You see somebody who's lighting the world on fire, who by all measures was supposed to light the world on fire, you go for it. And then if you see someone else whose swing is different and that they're elevating the ball more, and after the first couple of weeks, if that's what you're seeing, that's when you start doing it. But I don't think you can do it like after like 3 games or something. It's really hard.
I apologize for derailing the chat into this kind of stuff, but I want to talk about this. I think I brought this up in our other project. One of the mistakes that, this is an analogy I used in poker, and I did a big long video on this back when I did Poker X Factor, is that one mistake people make is waiting too long to draw assumptions of behavior, and usually by the time you make the changes, and by the time you believe it, it's usually like not too late, but like later than it should have been. Like every sample matters. And I know that baseball is weird because like you don't want to get overly excited about small sample sizes, but still a small sample size is better than no sample size. Mm-hmm. So I would actually be very liberal about accepting change.
Hey, fair enough. Those people who caught on to Randy Arozarena that when he got hot, the people who even if you just play the rush, play the hot streak, I think you could treat it like that, and then you sort of see as you go. But like, I just am talking about just from a strictly analytical standpoint. I do think it's going to take a little longer to figure out who really has changed their swing. But ride the hot streak, and in the meantime, these guys aren't bad plays anyway.
Right. Well, that's the point. I mean, you're not really risking that much.
Right. Exactly. You're taking it. Yeah, exactly. I agree with this. I'm going to build a FanDuel lineup while we're doing this. So, Sheets, but talk about some of the other pitchers like first base, shortstop, second base. I mean, just anybody you like, especially who you seem to be overweight on certain guys.
Yeah, just 1 second. Let me just finish what I was doing here.
You guys fired any questions or thoughts? And DFS Chan, what's up, man? Good to see you.
And just so you know, I'm gonna hang around after Bobby leaves and talk about all the other sports that are around tonight. Okay. So if anybody wants to talk anything else, like hockey or NASCAR or anything, I'm playing it all, and I will go over what I like in all the sports. So just throw it out there. With respect to other positions, let me get up what I have, actually.
Yeah, we'll just go through positions, then we'll answer questions as people pop them in.
So first base, Luke Voigt is probably my highest owned first baseman. And then the other guy is Cronenworth. from San Diego. So you had asked me who else do you play at shortstop?
You said you liked the Reds, and DFS Chan mentioned he did. I get it as viable, but I don't see them as being a good stack to me tonight. What do you think about the Reds? And then keep going.
I think it's just a leverage play. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I wouldn't play it in cash.
Right, you wouldn't play. Probably none of them were going to show up for you in cash. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, but who I am playing, by the way, since you mentioned shortstop, I'm definitely playing the cheapo from the Padres in my Padres stack.
Yeah,
the CJ Abrams.
Yeah, that's the spend down option, and then you could play Bichette, but I'm going to stick with Seager on FanDuel.
Yeah, in DraftKings, all I really have are those two guys, are Seagers and Abrams.
Yeah, I think that those are by far the most logical to me. So I definitely am on the same page. One thing you can do to get a little different, and I always remind people of this, Sheets, and like if there is a stack you really like, maybe it is Toronto today. One thing you could do to get different in your Toronto stacks on FanDuel is to play Jansen and Kirk together. Play either of them. No one's really going to play that combination that much. But if you play those two guys for nearly the minimum at using up both your first base spots, but you play a 4-man stack, I think that's an interesting way to get different. We talk about it a lot. These guys have just enough power to where it makes enough sense to me, and it's a way to differentiate within a popular stack. So that's just one thing I want to throw out there. Any thoughts on that, Sheets, or not? Just keep going.
Yeah. So I guess what you're referring to is so FanDuel. You mean having the catcher first base thing?
Yeah, but I mean using them both because they're both.
Yeah. And we used to do that with the White Sox, right? With
That's exactly right. Yeah, with Grandal.
I forget who it was, Abreu and the other guy.
Grandal and Abreu, yeah.
Yeah, and you could just play them both, or Moncada. Was it Moncada too? I forget what it was, but yeah, I think that's pretty good, and that's a typical. That's not typical. I might use the wrong word. That's like kind of a classic Bobby way of approaching things in general. Like when most of the field is trying to struggle over deciding one versus the other, just say, you know what, I'll just rebuild and just play both of them. That's easy.
And it's also there's logic to it too. Like you automatically are locking at their spots. If those guys are going to be productive within the stack, and the stack is productive, you're going to be so differentiated from all the rest of those stacks. So it's just something I like to do. Is it the most optimal to do like on a 15-game slate? Would I be saying to do that with the Blue Jays tonight? Probably not.
Hey, who'd you say you're playing on FanDuel at pitcher?
On FanDuel, it's going to be Scherzer.
Okay.
I don't think the money savings is enough of an issue. It would be Scherzer or Morton. I just don't see
this. This is every single year with me on FanDuel.
What is it?
Every year, I just do this every single time. I just pay down for the pitching, and then I wonder why I'm struggling. I got to just force myself off of this sometimes. I currently, again, I'm just kind of attacking baseball, at least to start the season, with kind of like max variance. I don't think I have any Scherzer on FanDuel. So I have 27% Sean Manaea. So
this is good.
Is that horrible? I mean,
no problem with any of it. I'm just saying what I was saying about all the pitchers and how they're not being extended. The only guys, like the two of the maybe the 6 most likely guys in baseball to be extended on opening day or their first start would be Scherzer and Morton. So I'm going to take advantage of that. I think it's still unlikely they get overextended, but like Scherzer doesn't pitch and throw less than 90 pitches, like ever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Coming out of the bullpen in the postseason. I mean, I can't resist, and I think there's plenty of, if I'm going to play Jansen and Kirk, obviously I've got money to spend, you know what I mean? Like I don't need to worry too much about it. So that's the way I'm just treating this right now. Anyway,
if you didn't know, Joe Adele is not starting. If that matters to anybody.
Of course, we know it matters to you, Sheets. We can't deal with a day without your man.
Well, no, it just mattered because I had him in a lineup.
I know. I'm just kidding around with you because you always talk
about.
But
I like that. I like those. I like the Angels on FanDuel.
Yeah, the team that if I was playing more lineups, I would get to both sides of that game, but I would be especially high on Houston tonight. Okay. I got to double check the ownership because I'm a little confused at why I had them as going to be the chalk, and now it's like they're mediumly chalky, but not like crazy chalky. I think that it could have something to do with even maybe their lineup's not out. Maybe people don't know what to do with it. I don't know, but They are interesting. And by the way, the Scherzer thing, there's some real risk in that game weather-wise. So I'm not saying this is like an automatic, like, we should talk about that for a minute. But like, I do think if not for the weather, it would be like a near lock situation for me. But I don't think the weather is bad enough to where we have to. It's just if you look at the actual rain forecast, it's going to make you feel like, oh my God, how are they going to do this? But I think they're going to play.
I will say this, by the way, you mentioned the ownership. I have on FanDuel, I have the Angels being the highest, and then and then actually the Mets and the Angels, and then after that I have the Padres, and I still don't see what's his name, the Houston's getting as much ownership as those other three. I have Houston kind of alongside of Toronto. It's kind of like second tier ownership. So that's where I have.
Well, that's certainly something to be aware of, because I do think that the as far as teams go, I just think that the Astros are a team whenever they're going to be lower owned on a 5-game slate. You should play them
right,
basically always. I don't think this is like a Detmeyer's and basically a bullpen situation too. Possibly, like, I'm not sure it's the ideal thing I'd want on a 15-game slate, but on this slate I would. And Odorizzi is getting absolutely zero respect, which is fine. But if everybody's going to play the Angels, that's the other one that I thought the whole game was going to be more popular than, I guess. Like, the Angels are going to be popular, I guess, with Ohtani and Trout and whatnot. But I don't see them as being like that exciting of a play. My favorite play on the Angels by far is Anthony Rendon. I think he's just way too cheap.
Anthony Rendon?
Yeah. I don't understand the John Gray. Is John Gray going to be chalky? She's going to be pretty owned. He's going to be pretty well owned on DraftKings, right?
John Gray?
Yeah, 25% maybe.
Let me see the most recent. Yeah, I have 20.
Yeah. Okay.
I have Morton, Scherzer, both about. Well, I have Morton to the highest owned on DraftKings at 40. Well, 47. And then Scherzer 40. Then Berrios, and then this is interesting. And then John Gray. You know what I have as the highest owned? Oh, that's actually, that is not true. I was about to say the highest owned position player. I have highest owned position player is Machado, but after that I have Robinson Cano as the highest owned position player.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I actually have.
And then I have Brad Miller next.
Yeah. I have a thought that I think that there is, like, unfortunately, this guy does struggle with lefties, but if you wanted an ultimate, like, really get off the board, it's not even that far off the board. This guy's got a ton of talent, Josiah Gray. By the way, between he and the catcher, these were the backbones of the deal that got us Scherzer as the Dodgers when he was still there. So there's real talent level. There's a real talent there. It's just a matter of, do you want to play him or your guy, San Martin? I think either one of them are actually fairly similar. I think Josiah Gray probably has a little longer of a leash, and San Martin they've never seen him before, so maybe there's a little bit of an edge there. But I think those are the ones I'd be looking to get off the board with for pitchers.
Yeah.
But as we've learned so far, and you can look you kind of have to. You don't have to necessarily get your pitching perfect, but you kind of need like 12 to 15 points and not negative 10 points or something. That's basically where you need to be early in the year. But when you get a chance to get 20 plus with two guys, that's what that's what I'm gonna do on this early slate, because Scherzer and Morton are those kind of guys. I'm just gonna take not even the chance. I'm just gonna play the two guys I like the best and get weird with my stack, the way I do my stacks and whatnot. But I don't have a full stack on DK. I have full stacks on FanDuel, but not on DK. All right, guys, pop in any other questions.
Hey, you said DFS Chan is in the chat here?
He was before.
Well, I wanted to comment. I'll post it in there. He mentioned in the horse racing forum that he is going to Keeneland's because he lives out in Kentucky and Keeneland started their racing. Chan, if you remember to let me know what day that you're going, I'll handicap the card for you, and I will and I'll give you what I like.
That's great. All right.
What was I just doing? I was doing something. Oh, I know what I was doing. What is now with respect to the weekends with baseball?
We don't have a schedule yet. I can't answer that question for another week. I keep saying to everybody, the weekend thing is me and Rhodey are trying to work out stuff.
I'm just talking about myself.
Sorry. I thought you meant
so for you guys, so my wife, has had COVID for the last week now. She's feeling better, so if she's ready to leave the house, I'm not going to be around tomorrow. so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I'll drop in my.
I'll get projections up and stuff like that, but there'll be no. I already did the video for MMA, so I'm not going to be doing any videos this weekend, as probably usual. But I'll try. I'll probably get the projections up, but bear with me if there's like an early slate on DraftKings and then an afternoon on FanDuel and a mid-range on Draft. I'll do the best I can. Okay, let's put it that way. I do promise you that if I do play, I'm going to put up the projections. That all I can actually promise you.
Yeah, and whether or not I play, I'm going to get out my cores and those things for the main slates every time on the weekend.
Okay.
Playing. So, and Rhodey will have his stacks and all that stuff. But as far as shows, we'll work that out maybe the next couple of weeks. But I do want to start doing that with Rhodey some because he has more time sometimes on the weekends. I'm trying to take time and also some of the time trying to work on other stuff for the site. But this is something that, we want to do whatever we can for you guys. So you guys can always hit me up in our Discord and just tag me and I'll be there. By the way, my boy Hideki making a little run here today. That's nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nice when you can get the former winner at 2% ownership.
That is true.
It's really weird how some of these guys in this afternoon slate, the afternoon golfers that were supposed to be so crazy, like the best rounds were shot by these guys. All right, so no, you're good. I'm seeing if there's anything else, guys. Pop in any other questions before I go. I'm gonna get some sleep after. Oh, I'm popping up a little bit here. I've got the couple top hundreds in the millionaire, which is nice.
Oh, there you go.
Shane Lowry, Sung J M, and Neiman together with Cam Smith and Horschel and Bubba. It's a pretty good lineup. Just hate rooting against Scheffler, man. It feels like that guy's always gonna. It's
ridiculous.
It's just so good, and it's just nuts what he's doing. I mean, he might end up like 5 strokes by the end of the day today.
That is possible.
Anyway, let's see. Favorite. I'm sorry about that, Dunbar. Favorite pitchers in order on favorite Padres in order on FanDuel. I think it's the same because I don't really care that much about pricing. Even with spending up, there's just plenty of guys you can spend down on if you need to. My favorite Padre for the year, the guy who I'm going to be the most married to because I believe in the talent and I don't think I'm seeing the best of him, is Grisham. So Grisham, Machado, Voit, probably Myers or Hosmer would be next. Maybe Cronenworth is fine, but I would go Grisham, Machado, and Voit as my favorites. All right, guys. Well, I am going to run soon. I'm happy just to sit here. I just feel like when I'm here, I feel like I need to say something. So keep the things moving. So I can't but I don't have anything else I have to do. I just maybe get a little sleep, but that's about it. I like my no Vlad double catcher Toronto stacks that have 0.
What's that?
No Vlad. No Teoscar, no Gurriel, but my Toronto full stacks on FanDuel with both catchers and none of the best hitters.
That's funny.
Although I argue that Matt Chapman won't be hitting 7th for very long. And I just want to say a big FU to Brooks because I have a beautiful lineup in the 555 on FanDuel that Brooks just massacred. And
at least he played.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough. Fair enough.
At least better than Casey and Louis Oosthuizen. I mean, like Christ.
Right. I mean, Oosthuizen, what is that? That's kind of a BS withdrawal. Like, you're at the Masters, man. You just because it's too loud with Tiger's crowd on that, I mean, it's nuts. Didn't bother Neiman at all. Be a pro.
Yeah, something like that.
as I said, don't worry about Fleetwood. He may be +3 for the tournament, but he's got a better score than all the guys at even. So
Okay.
not necessarily a bad thing to have the +3 guys who are high variance, I thought he was going to make a run today, though. When he got to even and like right away, I was like, oh, but then he just kind of fell apart a little bit. Yeah, it's going to be a really wild golf tournament unless Tommy Fleetwood just runs away with this whole thing. Cano or Profar? I prefer Profar to go with the stacks. Cano separately, I think I would go Profar over Cano if I had the exact amount of money. Sheets, how about you?
I don't like either of them really.
Okay. Those are my guys. Looks like that's pretty much it for the questions. Guys, we really appreciate you. Let's have a great baseball season. Hopefully I'll come back healthy and ready to go on Monday. I took a bunch of sinus medication, and it's got me like really revved up, but I know I'm going to crash at some point. Just hopping on from work. Any interest in Scotty Barnes starting at point guard? I have no interest in basketball at all, but I will do my best to give you my best thoughts. My best thought, first of all, is don't play unless you're playing a tiny amount. And if you do, as Sheet says, you get no right to complain about anything. It's there's absolutely nothing that's projectable today. The Toronto thing, it really doesn't matter what they. Yeah, I think he's fine. I think Scotty Barnes is fine. I mean, I guess you could argue, I guess it does matter, but it doesn't really matter, like whether Toronto wins or not. So that always makes me nervous because, like, whether you're the 5 or the 6 seed, it's not going to make any difference. And you don't even know who you're playing because all the other guys are still bunched up. So right now you're the 5, and they really can't. There's 2 games separating them. So there's no must-win-ish at anything of Toronto. So I would be trying to steer clear of anything like that if I was playing tonight. Oh, we're up to 50th in the Millionaire Maker and 20th in the $5.
You're up to what, 50th, you said?
Yeah, I've got 4 guys at 3 under, 3 guys at 3 under, and Cam Smith at 2 under. So it's the Lowry, M. Neiman, Cam Smith, Billy Horschel, Bubba Watson. That's my best one.
All right, so if you're going to I'm going to spend like 15 minutes just going over like who I got in these other sports, just because I promised I would. And I guess I will catch up to you over the weekend, I guess.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll answer. I'll stick around for a second and just answer Carl's question before I leave. Do I think John Gray is so bad? No. Why is that the thing? I think John Gray is so bad. I think Toronto is a viable stack, and I think John Gray is probably the 5th or 6th best pitcher on the slate against the team with the 2nd best offense or best offense, depending on what you think of Atlanta this year. So I want exposure to that best offense in general. I think Chris Kirk is a really legitimate play anyway. Jansen's my way of getting different in the stacks using both of them together. So
yeah, actually, wait. This is actually a question that you have to ask Evan or Mark, because Michael is saying that there's a difference between NHL ownership numbers on SaberSim with the true DFS source compared to what my spreadsheet is. So it's not dragging the numbers appropriately, apparently. So
Michael, can you do me a favor and try and click the refresh button, because I think that they were updated exactly 16 minutes ago. So in case previous screen, that's probably what it is.
Oh, okay.
But the ones on SaberSims, from what I can tell, have been updated 16 minutes ago. So that's what I think is the.
I will say this: the more that I upload, that's the most accurate. For mine, you know what I mean? Like SaberSim might update their own after I update mine. But as far as what's the more accurate representation of the true DFS projections, it's actually the ones that I upload. Because right now we have SaberSim only drawing from my file once every 20 minutes, right? Right, Bobby? Is that the story? I think that's what Evan said in the.
Yeah, that's what it should be. But again, that's what it should be.
Okay.
I can't. And so far, it seems to have worked, but there could be a little bit of a few minute delay between the two.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
So with respect to that, I have mostly the Islanders in hockey. I also have some Winnipeg. I also played the Xfinity Series race, and it's only because you guys were asking. It's like a quick. And you know what I was gonna do, Bobby? It's so funny. Like when I play all these other sports on Saturdays, I always put like hashtag DGen Saturday, I'm
Mhm.
actually I might do like a video like once a Saturday and just call it DGen Saturday, which is basically half hour, 45 minutes where I just go over everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Great. I love it.
yeah, and just call it DGen Saturday, just go over my top picks for every single sport I'm playing, from either LOL to baseball, basketball, MMA, or whatever. I'll throw it out there Saturday morning and just, give people something.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Also for MMA, just so you guys know, one of the fights got canceled a couple hours ago. Rosenstruck versus Tybura. So adjust your lineups accordingly. And with respect to the Xfinity, like I mentioned earlier, you get Ty Gibbs is pretty good chalk up at the top, and then what's the name? Dale Earnhardt Jr. is very good chalk. I would just rely on the projections. I think I did a good job with them this week, and I guess that's pretty much all I got. Feel free to post in Discord. I'll try to answer some questions as much as possible. NBA shit show. Play at your own risk. I'm playing. Hey, if you want to look at the projections, look at projections and play accordingly. But it's I certainly wouldn't recommend it. And that's it.
All right, that's awesome. All right, guys, I'm gonna say good luck. Sheets, good luck tonight, and I'll definitely catch up with you guys. I'll catch up with you guys later in Discord. Good luck today. Oh, Sheets is gone, I guess. I thought Sheets was gonna stick around. I was saying goodbye. That was gonna set down the stream. Anyway, guys, appreciate you guys. Good luck to everybody, and we will hopefully see one of you at the top of the leaderboard tonight. Good luck.